Ahoy there, mateys, and welcome aboard for another deep dive.
Haha.
Today, we're hoisting the Jolly Roger and setting sail for the golden age of piracy.
Oh, this'll be fun.
We're telling the tale of Thomas Tew,
Hmm.
a Rhode Island pirate who struck it rich raiding ships in the Indian Ocean back in the late 1600s.
You know, you might be surprised to learn that Tew wasn't your typical rough-and-tumble buccaneer.
Right.
He actually came from a well-off family.
Really?
Yeah, comfortable both hobnobbing with high society, and also down on the docks, rubbing elbows with the sailors and merchants.
He was a man of two worlds.
That's a great way to put it.
And we're getting all this swashbuckling adventure from the American History Tellers podcast.
Great podcast.
Season 51, Episode 1, Pirates. A gold chain or a wooden leg?
Catchy title.
And believe me, this deep dive is a real treasure chest full of twists and turns.
Better yet.
We're talking a journey from New England all the way to the exotic Red Sea.
A long way.
Back when the line between privateering and outright piracy, well, it was pretty blurry.
It really was.
And get this, there are even rumors that Tew might have faked his own death
Gasp. No way.
to live out his days like a king.
Wow, that's incredible. But it all begins in a place you might not expect.
Okay.
Newport, Rhode Island,
Oh, interesting.
in the late 1600s. Now, this wasn't just any sleepy colonial town, mind you.
Okay.
It was a bustling port city full of life and activity.
Hmm.
Then, it had this thriving black market fueled by all sorts of smuggled and stolen goods.
So in this environment, piracy was almost seen as respectable.
In a way, yes. You got to remember that there was a lot of tension brewing between the colonies and England at the time.
Right, those pesky taxes.
Exactly. The colonists, they weren't exactly thrilled about lining the pockets of a mother country that felt increasingly distant and out of touch.
Yeah, I can see that.
So this climate of rebellion,
Ah.
coupled with the allure of quick riches, made piracy a tempting prospect for someone like Thomas Tew.
Makes sense. But before he went full-on pirate, Tew actually failed under something called a letter of marque.
Ah!
What exactly was that?
Well, think of it like a government-issued permission slip to attack enemy ships.
Okay.
Basically, countries would use privateers like Tew to carry out their naval warfare on the cheap.
Sanctioned piracy.
You could say that.
Yeah.
But the lines were blurry back then, especially in the chaotic world of the 17th century.
Right.
And for Tew, well, that line eventually vanished completely.
But why the Indian Ocean?
Good question.
What made that part of the world so alluring to pirates like Tew?
Well, you have to understand the global trade routes of the time. The Indian Ocean was a hub for some incredibly valuable goods.
Like what?
Spices, silks, gold, it was all flowing from the powerful Mughal Empire.
For those of us who might slept through history class,
Uh-huh.
who exactly were the Mughals?
Oh, they were a Muslim dynasty. That ruled over a vast empire in India, controlled key trade routes, immense wealth. Their ships were prime targets for pirates.
Easy pickings.
Yeah.
So Tew was basically drawn to the pirate round, right?
You got it. That's the route from the Caribbean around the Cape of Good Hope
Okay.
all the way to the Indian Ocean.
A long way.
It was a long and perilous journey, no doubt. But the potential rewards, well, they were just too tempting to resist for a man like Tew.
The source mentions that when Tew was recruiting his crew back in Newport,
Yes.
he used a pretty memorable phrase, a gold chain or a wooden leg.
Oh, I love that.
Really highlights the risks and rewards of that life, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder that the life of a pirate was far from glamorous.
Yeah.
Behind the allure of wealth and adventure,
Sure.
there's also the very real possibility of injury, capture, even death.
Yeah. And Tew's first major raid in the Red Sea was a testament to both the audacity and the brutality of pirate life.
It really was.
Just imagine this.
Okay.
A small sloop manned by a crew of just 60 pirates
Wow. Small.
takes on a massive Mughal ship.
David and Goliath?
Seemed like an impossible feat.
It did.
This Mughal ship was heavily armed and carried over 300 soldiers on board.
Oh, wow.
It should have been a walkover for them.
Definitely.
But against all odds, Tew and his men emerged victorious.
No.
They captured the ship and its valuable cargo
Wow.
without a single casualty on their side.
That's incredible. How'd they pull that off?
It does sound a bit too good to be true, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, how did they manage that?
Well, we can only speculate.
Yeah.
Maybe the Mughal ship was underarmed or its cannons were just for show. A lot of merchant ships back then skimped on defense to cut costs.
Risky business.
It was a gamble that sometimes backfired spectacularly.
And in this case, it backfired right into Tew's lap.
Haha. Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
It's amazing to think that his crew earned more in that single raid than most sailors would see in a lifetime.
Oh, absolutely. The source mentions each crew member received somewhere between 1,200 and 3,000 pounds sterling.
Wow.
A fortune back then. Can you imagine the celebration when Tew's ship, the Amity, sailed back into Newport Harbor laden with treasure?
I bet it was quite a sight.
Yeah.
But this success also came with a price, right? I mean, the influx of pirates into the Indian Ocean meant increased competition.
For sure.
Tew knew he had to strike again and strike big before the well ran dry.
Absolutely. Got to stay ahead of the game.
And that ambition led him to a rather intriguing figure.
Who's that?
Governor Benjamin Fletcher of New York.
Oh, yes, Fletcher.
Now, Fletcher had a reputation for being, shall we say, pirate-friendly.
As long as he got his cut, of course.
Classic case of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Exactly. But there was more to it than just personal greed. New York's economy was struggling at the time.
Okay.
And Fletcher saw pirates as a way to boost trade and inject much-needed wealth into the city.
I bet not everyone was thrilled about this strategy.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, weren't there some who saw pirates as a threat rather than a boon to the colony?
You bet there were. Oh, yeah, New York's merchant class, the ones involved in, legitimate trade.
Right.
They saw pirates as a direct threat.
Yeah.
To their businesses, to their profits.
Mm-hmm.
They thought Fletcher's dealings with pirates were just, corrupt and harmful to the colony.
To the colony's long-term stability.
Exactly.
So you have this clash of perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Fletcher seeing pirates as this quick fix for the economy.
Yeah.
And the merchants worried about the consequences.
Yeah, long-term consequences.
It speaks to a larger tension brewing, doesn't it?
It really does. You have, on one hand, those who want to maintain those traditional ties with England.
Right.
And their economic system, mercantilism.
Mercantilism, right? Keeping all the wealth within the empire.
Exactly. Colonies, primarily just there to supply raw materials.
Right.
And be a market for their finished goods.
Yeah, piracy just throws a wrench in that whole system.
Completely disrupts it by engaging in illegal trade, capturing goods from outside the British Empire. Guys like Tew were really shaking things up.
Yeah.
Highlighting that potential for, colonial economic independence.
So Fletcher might have seen it as a pragmatic solution, but he's also feeding this growing spirit of colonial defiance.
Unintentionally, of course, but yeah.
That leads to the American Revolution.
It's like a domino effect. Is a fascinating example of how someone's just trying to make a buck.
Right.
Can lead to these huge unintended consequences.
Now, Fletcher's support wasn't the only advantage Tew was looking for his next big score.
Yeah.
He knew the competition was heating up in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
So he decides to team up with another notorious pirate, Henry Every.
The infamous Henry Every.
They hatched this bold plan to target a Mughal treasure fleet returning from the Hajj pilgrimage.
Whoa, that's ambitious, even for pirates.
A powerful alliance of 6 pirate ships.
6?
Almost 500 crew members between them.
That's a small navy.
Lying in wait for this fleet of treasure-laden Mughal ships.
High stakes, high reward.
The source recounts this attack from the perspective of a young gunner's mate.
Okay.
On board the Portsmouth Adventure, one of the ships in Every's fleet.
Okay.
It's a really vivid account. The thunder of cannons, the maneuvering of ships, the scramble of the boarding party.
It's like something out of a movie.
It really is. And what strikes me is the gunner's mate's eagerness to join the boarding party.
Yeah.
The lure of riches just outweighing any fear.
Fortune favors the bold, as they say, especially in piracy.
But Tew's luck wouldn't last forever.
Sadly, no.
The raid on the Mughal fleet was a success for the alliance.
Yeah.
But Tew's ship, the Amity, falls behind during the chase.
Uh-oh.
They encounter a lone Mughal vessel.
Oh.
And Tew, confident from his previous victory, prepares to attack.
Doesn't go as planned.
This time, fate takes a cruel turn.
What happens?
The Mughal ship returns fire.
Oh, no.
A cannonball rips through the Amity's deck, mortally wounding Tew.
A brutal end for a man who lived a life of daring and danger.
It's a reminder that the pirate's life,
Yeah.
while full of adventure and riches,
Yeah.
was also full of peril.
Absolutely.
And often ended in violence.
Unfortunately.
And Tew's death.
Yeah.
or at least the reported version of it,
Hmm.
marked a turning point in the relationship between England and its American colonies.
How so?
Piracy in the Indian Ocean had become a major problem for the Crown,
Oh, yeah. Huge problem.
threatening their trade and their control over these increasingly defiant colonies.
So they couldn't just sit back and watch anymore.
England finally had to act.
Right.
They had to reassert their authority, protect their economic interests.
For sure.
The English Board of Trade launched investigations into those colonial governors who had been a little too pirate-friendly.
You had to put it lightly?
Governor Fletcher,
Oh, yeah.
as you might imagine, he found himself in some hot water.
More like boiling oil.
So what happened to Fletcher? Did he face any consequences?
Well, he was recalled to England,
Okay.
faced intense scrutiny. They were starting to see the bigger picture.
Uh-huh.
Colonies were using piracy as a tool.
To gain economic independence.
Yeah, a direct challenge to that mercantilist system England was so reliant on.
And those letters of marque,
Right.
initially intended as a way to sanction privateering against enemy nations,
Yeah.
they became a loophole for the colonies.
To circumvent regulations.
Enrich themselves.
It was a sneaky form of rebellion.
Cloaked in legality.
Exactly. And England was not having it. This crackdown was about taking back control, reminding the colonies who was boss.
But that attempt ultimately failed.
Sadly, yeah.
The seeds of the American Revolution had already been sown.
Already taking root.
The colonists had tasted freedom. Economic freedom. Freedom from those restrictive laws.
And there was no turning back.
And that brings us to an intriguing question.
What's that?
What if Tew had actually survived that final encounter, as some rumors suggest?
Right.
Imagine a wealthy, experienced pirate returning to the colonies on the eve of the revolution.
That's a game changer.
How might his presence have influenced things? Would he have used his fortune to support the rebellion?
I wonder.
Or would he have carved out his own path?
A true wild card.
It's a question we can only speculate on.
That's the fun of history, isn't it?
It really is. It highlights the unpredictable nature of history.
Yeah.
And the potential for individuals, even those outside the law, to shape the course of events.
Absolutely.
Tew's story isn't just a pirate adventure.
It's so much more.
It's a window into a world on the verge of massive change.
Yeah.
Grappling with power, control, and that desire for freedom.
The age-old struggle.
He embodies that spirit of the era.
He really does.
The ambition, the daring, that willingness to challenge the status quo.
A true rebel.
Whether he died on the deck of his ship or lived out his days in some luxurious anonymity, his legacy continues to fascinate us.
It really does.
But let's not forget those rumors of Tew's survival.
Oh, right.
The source mentions tales of him recovering from his injuries, settling in Madagascar,
Wow.
even fathering a child with a local royal.
No kidding.
These stories,
Yeah.
while likely embellished,
Probably.
were common in the pirate world,
Part of the mystique.
added to the allure.
Yeah.
The legend of the pirate who escaped the hangman's noose
Right.
lived to enjoy his ill-gotten gains.
The ultimate pirate fantasy.
People wanted to believe that he cheated fate,
I get it.
found a way to live a life of freedom and adventure
Outside the rules.
outside the constraints of society.
Yeah.
And in a way, he did.
He did.
Even if those tales of his survival are pure fiction,
Okay.
Tew's story captures our imaginations,
Absolutely.
reminds us of a time when the boundaries between legality and outlawry were blurred,
When fortunes were made and lost on the high seas.
when the spirit of rebellion burned bright.
It's an incredible story.
So while the historical record might be unclear about Tew's ultimate fate,
Yeah.
one thing is certain. His life,
Yes.
his exploits,
Absolutely.
they've left a mark
The big mark.
on our collective memory,
Right.
ensuring that the legend of Thomas Tew,
Yes.
the Rhode Island pirate,
Mm.
will continue to sail the seas
To sail the seas.
of our imagination
Yeah.
for generations to come.
A tale for the ages. It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
did anyone ever actually go looking for him?
Right.
Or did they kind of just prefer the mystery?
Yeah, let the legend grow.
Let the legend grow. But, records from that time are, well,
Patchy.
very patchy, especially when it comes to pirates.
Yeah.
What we do know is that Tew's exploits and all the copycats he inspired, they had a real impact.
A big impact on England's relationship with the colonies.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it wasn't just about lost treasure for the English crown, right?
No, definitely not. It was about control. They saw these colonial governors who were, letting piracy slide,
Turning a blind eye.
turning a blind eye,
Yeah.
even encouraging it sometimes
All right.
as a
Whatever.
direct threat to their authority. You know, the colonies were getting bold, using piracy to flex their muscles a bit.
Assert their independence.
Exactly. Challenge the old way of doing things.
So Benjamin Fletcher,
Oh, yeah, Fletcher.
the governor of New York who gave Tew that second letter of marque. He must face some heat for that.
Oh, he did. He was recalled to England, faced a whole bunch of accusations, investigations.
Dragged over the coals.
Pretty much. The English Board of Trade, they saw his pirate dealings as like the ultimate betrayal.
A slap in the face to their authority.
Exactly. And they thought it was, going to set a bad example for the other colonies.
Like, hey, if New York can get away with it, why not us?
Exactly.
So it seems like piracy became this symbol
A symbol, yeah.
of the growing rift between England and the colonies.
Yeah, a very visible symbol. On one hand, you have the colonies kind of thumbing their noses at the rules.
Right, doing their own thing.
Exactly. And on the other hand, you have England trying to clamp down, reassert control.
Trying to put the genie back in the bottle.
Exactly. But it was too late.
The colonies were already heading toward revolution.
Yeah, they'd gotten a taste of freedom and they weren't going to give that up easily.
It's fascinating how these seemingly separate threads of history
Yeah.
all intertwine.
It's like a tapestry.
You have one man's story, this pirate seeking fortune,
Right.
and it ripples outward.
Connecting to these massive historical forces.
Forces that reshape the world.
It's incredible.
Tew's story reminds us that history isn't just made by, kings and queens,
Big names.
the big names in history books,
Right.
but also by individuals who, through their choices,
Yeah.
their actions, they can stark change, ignite rebellion,
Leave their mark.
leave their mark on the course of events.
For better or for worse.
And while the historical record's a bit hazy on Tew's ultimate fate,
Yeah, it's still a mystery.
his legacy lives on.
Oh, absolutely. He represents that adventurous spirit.
Right.
The allure of the unknown, that yearning for freedom,
That's the pirate spirit.
even if it comes at a price.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Thomas Tew, we're left with a sense of wonder
I love that.
and some lingering questions.
Yeah, like, did he actually die that day in the Indian Ocean?
Right.
Or did he manage to slip away and live out his days in peace somewhere?
The man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, exactly.
Maybe we'll never know for sure.
Look, that's part of the beauty of history, right?
That keeps us guessing.
Keeps us curious. It's a mix of fact and fiction.
Weaving a tale we get to explore.
And draw our own conclusions.
So next time you hear the word pirate,
Yeah.
think about Thomas Tew,
The Rhode Island pirate.
who dared to challenge the mightiest empire in the world.
A true rebel.
Remember, history is full of surprises, and sometimes the most unlikely individuals
Yeah,
can change the course of history.
they really can.
Until next time, fair winds and following seas, my friends.